We incessantly hear and read in the Arabic and Mohammedan Muslim media about Muhammad's unique characters of mercy and compassion. How true are these attributes?
I would like our listeners to share with us the knowledge that is only by divine justice that the Muhammadan records as written by their exegetes and historians uncover the facts, reality and truth about Muhammad's actual attributes. We shall show, based entirely upon these, his own followers' records in the hadiths and his biography, that Muhammad was the exact opposite of what his later and present followers want the world to believe, by the use of the most abysmal levels of misinformation, disinformation, deception, and utter and complete lies. The following examples, taken from different sources, are only the tip of an enormous garbage dump of depraved and obscene acts. Ibn Ishaq 288. The Quraysh said, Muhammad and his companions have violated the sacred month, shed blood, seized property, and taken men captive. It was always Muhammad who broke every Arabian rule and tradition to start with, and then revealed the appropriate made-to-order verses sanctifying his nefarious deeds. Ishaq 535. The women began to cry after learning about Ja'far's death. Disturbed, Muhammad told Abdul Rahman to silence them. When they wouldn't stop wailing, Allah's apostle said, Go and tell them to be quiet, and if they refuse, throw dust in their mouths. Ishaq 596. Prophet, this group of Ansar have a grudge against you for what you did with the plunder and how you divided it among your own people. After due praise and exaltation of Allah, he addressed them, Ansar, what is this talk I hear from you? What is the grudge you harbor in your hearts against me? Do you think ill of me? Did I not come to you when you were erring and needy, and then made you rich by Allah? They answered, You came to us discredited when your message was rejected by the Quraysh, and we believed you. You were forsaken and deserted, and we assisted you. You were a fugitive, and we took you in, sheltering you. You were poor and in need, and we comforted you. His followers among the Ansar gave him the most truthful replies in the whole of the hadiths. Tabari 8.97. When I returned to Medina, the Prophet met me in the market and said, Give me the woman. I said, Holy Prophet of Allah, I like her, and I have not uncovered her garment. Muhammad said nothing to me until the next day. He again met me in the market and said, Salama, give me the woman. I said, Prophet, I have not uncovered her garment, but she is yours. Tabari 9.34. Khuwaisira came and stood by the Prophet as he was giving gifts to the people and said, Muhammad, I have seen what you have done today. Well, what did you see? He said, I don't think you have been fair. Allah's messenger became angry. Woe to you! If justice is not to be found with me, then with whom is it to be found? Umar ibn al-Khattab said, Muhammad, allow me to kill him. The apostle said, Get him away from me and cut off his tongue. Tabari 7.65. When the apostle was in Safra, Nadir was assassinated. When Muhammad reached Irq Zabiya, he killed Uqba. When the Prophet ordered him to be killed, Uqba said, Who will look after my children, Muhammad? Hellfire, the apostle replied, and he was murdered. Muhammad, as portrayed in both the Quran and the Ahadith, shows his usual mercy and compassion by slaughtering prisoners of war just because they had satirized him. Tabari 8.38. The Messenger of Allah commanded that all of the Jewish men and boys who had reached puberty should be beheaded. Then the Prophet divided the wealth, wives and children of the Bani Qurayza, Jews, among the Muslims. The listener should be made aware that the Qurayza tribe was not a military organization but manufacturers in leather and metal, and more not a threat to Muhammad or his followers, except that they had wealth that Muhammad coveted and needed to acquire so that he would bribe even more pagans to his cause. The mass murder of civilians and the sea of blood that Muhammad initiated in Arabia was later on continued by his followers against millions of other nationalities in an ocean of blood on 3 continents by the Arab and Muhammadan Muslim conquerors. Ishaq 550. Muhammad ordered that certain men should be assassinated even if they were found behind the curtains of the Kaaba. Among them was Abdullah bin Sa'd. The reason that Allah's Messenger ordered that he should be slain was because he had become a Muslim and used to write Quranic revelations. Then he apostatized, rejected Islam. Muhammadan Islam welcomes all converts with open arms without informing them that if they changed their mind and wanted to opt out, they would lose their head. Ishaq 676. Asma bint Marwan said to the Aus and Khazraj of the Medina, "You obey a stranger who encourages you to murder for booty. You are greedy men. Is there no honor among you?" Upon hearing those lines, Muhammad said, "Will no one rid me of this woman?" Umayr, a zealous Muslim, decided to execute the Prophet's wishes. That very night, he crept into the writer's home while she lay sleeping surrounded by her young children. There was one at her breast. Umayr removed the suckling babe and then plunged his sword into the poet. The next morning in the mosque, Muhammad, who was aware of the assassination, said, "You have helped Allah and His Apostle." Umayr said, "She had 5 sons. Should I feel guilty?" "No," the Prophet answered. "Killing her was as meaningless as 2 goats butting heads." If killing her was so meaningless, then she could not possibly have been a threat to Muhammad. He had her murdered simply because she opposed him. Bukhari Hadith 4.256. The Prophet passed by and was asked whether it was permissible to attack infidels at night with the probability of exposing their women and children to danger. The Prophet replied, "Their women and children are from them." Muhammad was able to instill in his followers the most debased instincts that any human being could possibly carry. Deception, lying, cowardice, treachery, perfidy, compounded with a depraved indifference to morality, mercy, or compassion. In fact, his followers became his psychological and intellectual clones, up to this day as witnessed by their deeds all around the world. Sahih al-Bukhari Hadith 9.37, narrated by Abu Qilaba. Anas bin Malik said, 8 persons from tribe of Uql came to Allah's Apostle and gave the pledge of allegiance for Islam, became Muslims. The climate of the Medina did not suit them, so they became sick and complained about that to Allah's Apostle. He said to them, "Won't you go out with the shepherd of our camels and drink of the camel's milk and urine as medicine?" They said yes. So they went out and drank the camel's milk and urine. And after they became healthy, they killed the shepherd of Allah's Apostle and took away all the camels. This news reached Allah's Apostle, so he sent men to follow them, and they were captured and brought to the Prophet. He then ordered to cut their hands and feet, and their eyes were branded with heated pieces of iron, and then he threw them in the sun till they died. In conclusion, no prophet in recorded human history had ever acted with such depraved pathological indifference towards other human beings. Muhammad is the only allegedly divinely inspired messenger who acted with such manner.